Hi, I'm Hannah Boozer, and I'd like to share my capstone presentation with you, and share the lessons that I've learned through all my experiences leading up to this presentation. First, I'd like to discuss some areas of interest that I explored when deciding what to do for my capstone. After that, I'll give more detail about what exactly I did for my project. To me, the capstone project has always been sort of a hard to grasp concept, and because of this I pursued many different things. What I did know that I wanted to do was find something which bettered the community, shared the gospel, and somehow searched for a career option. As many of you know, I've played soccer for much of my life, and because of this, one of my first ideas was to possibly create a soccer camp for the younger girls at CAK. My second idea had to do with art, because in my sophomore year I discovered that I had a real talent for it. My idea was to possibly paint a mural in the hallways at school to liven it up, or possibly go to a respectable charity and help raise money. Another passion of mine is reading, and by extension, writing. My first concrete idea that had to do with writing was to finish writing my book that I'm working on and get it published at some time in the future. Then I decided that I really didn't have enough time to do all that I wanted with it, so I scratched that idea. In the spring of this year, I started volunteering at Young Williams Animal Center, because who doesn't love pets? As you can tell, most of my ideas are all over the board, and after some soul searching and discussion with my mentor, I decided to do several different things combined. Since the 8th grade, I've been an avid reader, reading over 100 books a year. In fact, I'd love to have a career as a writer. Sometimes when I would read, I would come up with alternate endings to the book, which led me to write my own, which I soon discovered was no easy task. As of right now, I have 4 rewrites due to poor character development, plot holes, slowness, and the occasional writer's block. What I did learn from all of this was that in order to create a full and in-depth story, you need to develop the characters, create a setting, establish a social hierarchy, and outline the plot before actually going into writing. As many of you well know, CAK has a very demanding and ambitious atmosphere. Therefore, quality writing is required in nearly every class. Writing is also a very important skill that one must learn to be able to communicate your ideas in daily life. One of my books that I'm currently writing is titled Makings of a Mask. So far, I've been able to create the entire plot line, develop the characters, create a map, and I've also researched the cultures and customs in which I want to incorporate into this world. I've added a social hierarchy to all the mystical creatures and created a history of all the kingdoms. I plan to finish this project in the next 4 years during college. I've learned some very important lessons from this experience, including the importance of setting goals and realizing that I can't do everything at once, and learning that patience really is a virtue. The summer and fall of all my high school years, I've been busy, whether it be from soccer or schoolwork. But this past spring, I decided to use my free time after soccer was over to spend some time at Young Williams Animal Center. There are lots of different animals at the shelter, including dogs, cats, guinea pigs, and rabbits. But there are also lots of ways that you can help, including washing dishes, walking dogs, cleaning cages, feeding the animals, taking out the trash, washing laundry, and helping with adoptions. The last one is the opportunity that intrigued me the most. I spent most of my time as an adoption floor staff assistant, and while helping with the staff, I was given the privilege to name one of the dogs that had just been brought in, a cute little beagle who I named Scooter. There was also another dog at the shelter, Princess. She was a pit bull, and there's a picture of her. She'd been there at the shelter for quite a while, and I'd always been somewhat timid of pit bulls, just because of the rumors and stereotypes that they were given. But then I soon found out that Princess was one of the sweetest dogs ever. Having this experience has led me to the knowledge that not all dogs are vicious, like not all pit bulls are vicious, and it's been a great life lesson. Although the work at the animal shelter is taxing, dirty, and oftentimes thankless, I would recommend that anyone who loves animals should spend a lot of time there. One thing that I've learned and has been very helpful is that I like to be busy. Being at the animal shelter, there's really no time to sit around and take a break. Of course, you can go get water and stuff, but really I don't like to sit down and goof off, basically. So I realized that I really like to utilize my time as best as I can. This past summer, I had the privilege to spend a week at Leidos in Oak Ridge in the graphic design department, shadowing a graphic designer named Denton Leslie, a family friend. He's the associate creative director at Leidos. He taught me how to use Photoshop and Adobe InDesign, and with those skills, I created a website logo for his domain, theorange.com, and it's up there. He then moved me on to the more challenging task of creating a guitar flyer out of a boring old one. And this is the before flyer. It's very blurry, and then that's the end product. Denton made sure that I was included in a lot of client meetings, all of which were through the computer, so that I could get a feel for what graphic design really was and all of the communication side of it. Our last project was to create a contact card to remember our time by and to also use in my journey to adulthood. And it's down there. I learned a lot of things from this experience, including how to communicate with business associates and also that I did not want to be a graphic designer. For the 5th year in a row, I volunteered at Camp Webb. I've been part of the Camp Webb family for 8 years now, as a camper, a CIT, and hopefully a counselor one day. This camp and its people are very dear to me and mean a whole lot. In fact, I ran into one of my old campers a few weeks ago, named Marley. It suddenly dawned on me how much she'd grown up and matured over the years, because I can remember when she was just 6 years old, and now she's in middle school and growing really big. Oh, sorry. There are a lot of good things and bad things about working at a camp with kids. A lot of problems are rooted in miscommunication, and this is a great example. Last summer, I had a camper named Benjamin. He was 5 years old, and he'd just recently been adopted from China, and he spoke very little English. It was very easy to realize that talking to him was going to be a challenge, and communicating with him was going to be a project. It seemed that the more I talked to him, the more upset he got, because he didn't understand and didn't understand why I would talk to him in a different language, basically. But what was harder to figure out was that there are different ways to communicate than just words. The way in which I communicated to Benjamin afterwards was through shared experiences. Instead of telling him what to do, I would just do things with him. And because of this, it made his and my own experience much more enjoyable. And by the end of the week, he was able to communicate with the kids in the group a lot better. I understand that I'm not the only person to present a capstone, and that you've seen lots of capstone presentations in which the presenter has only talked about one thing. I've had a lot of misgivings about speaking to you about more than one thing, but I realized that life is about more than one thing. And being able to have several different experiences on other planes of interest is, to me, a true representation of life. In fact, it took all 4 of these experiences to accomplish my goals that I'd set at the beginning: to better the community, share the gospel, and search for a career that I enjoy, excel at, and am passionate about.